I'm a grindless and shocked though quail on. Could you take the mail in it? Shocks or shocked? Yeah, okay. Yeah. What's that shit?
3 bones jag.
Yeah, Kirklar. So shocked to good eggs and shocked. So, first of all, I wish to begin by welcoming the bill that's before us today and thank Deputies Brannock, Laoghaire and Troy for bringing it before the House. We will not oppose its passage to second stage. There are flaws in it, the Minister has identified that, but we hope to work constructively to improve it at committee stage. We support it because in principle we believe that where somebody is knowingly purchasing illicit goods, then that obviously is something that is wrong and that there should be a sanction for it. However, I do share some of the Minister's views that it may be difficult to implement. It's something that perhaps can be explored further at committee stage. My understanding of this bill is that if passed, it would make an offence to purchase illicit alcohol, illicit tobacco, illicit solid fuel, as well as making it an offence to purchase such goods from an unregistered or unlicensed retailer. I would question the ability of the Gardaí to implement such legislation, but the theory, I think, is good. But we can explore that further, as I said. It is proposed by this bill that we provide for the imposition of a penalty in respect of such offences and to provide for an on-the-spot fine in respect of such offences. I think, again, that is a welcome proposal, though it may have resource implications, and we need to be conscious of the relationship between the on-the-spot fine and any potential court fine. To the provisions of the bill, Section 4 deals with illicit alcohol. Section 4.1 makes an offence for a person to buy or attempt to buy alcohol in circumstances where he or she had known or should have known that taxes and excise duty had not been paid on that alcohol. Section 5 deals with illicit tobacco. Section 5.1 makes an offence for a person to buy or attempt to buy tobacco in circumstances where he or she had known or should have known that taxes and excise duties had not been paid. Section 6 deals with illicit solid fuel. Section 6.1 makes an offence for a person to buy or attempt to buy solid fuel in circumstances where he or she had known or should have known that the relevant taxes had not been paid. Section 6.2 defines the term relevant taxes and duties, which is used in Section 6. Section 8 deals with the purchase of alcohol, tobacco and solid fuel from an unregistered or unlicensed retailer. Section 8.1 makes an offence for a person to buy an alcohol product from a person whose name is not included in the list of current valid liquor licences which is maintained by the Revenue Commissioners. Section 10 provides for immunity from suit of an authorised person for an act which is done in good faith. Section 7 deals with the burden of proof in a prosecution, and I have some reservations in relation to this. In respect of a prosecution under sections 4, 5 and 6, it provides for the application of a rebuttable presumption to the effect that the required taxes and duties have not been paid. The onus will be on the suspected offender to demonstrate that the relevant taxes and duties have been paid. This seems to an extent out of step with normal practice, but I'm also conscious of the potential interplay between Section 7 and Sections 4, 5 and 6, because if it is the case that somebody can be purchased for not being aware of or for purchasing illicit goods and being reckless to that effect, but that it hasn't been proven that excise and taxes have not been paid on it, because the onus of proof is on the suspected offender, then in that circumstances, is it possible that somebody could be convicted without it, as I say, having been proven that there was no taxes on it? I think that's a potential difficulty, and I think it needs to be addressed. There is a provision there in relation to test purchasing, and it's not immediately clear to me from reading the proposal whether it's proposed that this would be undertaken by the Gardaí or members of the public employed by or on behalf of the Gardaí. I think that's something that we need to be cautious of, but if the Fianna Fáil representatives can elaborate on that in their closing remarks, because I think that needs clarity. Obviously, test purchasing is something that's used regularly enough with alcohol through Garda programmes, but it's not immediately clear to me usually in relation to age. It's not immediately clear to me that that's what's intended here, but if it is, fair enough. Tobacco is one of the most extensively smuggled substances in the world, with 1 in 10 cigarettes sold in the EU coming from the illicit trade. This means that governments are robbed of millions in potential revenue, making tobacco contraband a lucrative criminal business. The tobacco lobby is strong in the EU. The top companies spend millions every year on lobbying in Brussels and employ lobbyists with the European Parliament to engage with MEPs on issues they believe to be relevant to their business. The tobacco industry claims the problem with the illicit trade of tobacco is counterfeit cigarettes, but even its own data shows that most of the illicit trade products are manufactured by the tobacco companies themselves. Therefore, there is a need for separation between the problem and the solution. There should be no influence from the tobacco industry in putting in place an effective tracking and tracing system. Indeed, I note before the budget that fuel suppliers were warning that the smuggling of coal would increase significantly if carbon taxes were applied. Coal is already being brought into this jurisdiction from the north, often originating in Scotland. Some of this coal has a high sulphur content of up to 7% and would not be allowed to be sold here, according to the industry. And obviously the issue of the sale of illicit alcohol is one that has a very long history, probably dating far beyond partition, but is still a very significant issue and needs to be addressed. Finally, as I say, on the topic of on-the-spot fines, this is something that we would support, but I would ask there if this is fines that might be perhaps ring-fenced for either the health system, for the fallout of smoking and drinking. In general, I think there is merit to the proposal, but some of the technicalities and some of the details do need to be ironed out at committee stage.